Well, The Mandalorian is back after a 2-year and change hiatus. This show has been proclaimed to be a part of the resurgence of Star Wars, and the first 2 seasons certainly live up to that moniker. Will Season 3 follow that trend of quality? Let's find out. Oh. Okay. I guess we're done here. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're going to do this right. Spoilers ahead. So the story begins with the armorer forging a new helmet. Once she is done, she takes it out with a bunch of her fellows to a foundling who is standing in the lake. They recite the creed, but the ceremony is suddenly interrupted by a giant turtle dinosaur that jumps out of the lake. Cue a fight scene that makes the Mandalorians look incompetent, especially when they hook into the giant creature when they could just fly away. Fortunately, they're bailed out by Mando in a new starship, and Grogu is suddenly back with him. How did that happen? I thought he left with Luke. Okay, I've seen the Book of Boba Fett, so I'm sure that they'll have an explanation, right? In fact, the very next scene is the start of the housekeeping session. Mando and the armorer repeat themselves because starting a new plot in another show would just be silly. Of course, it also cheapens the close of Season 2 in a way that I don't think anyone has ever thought of. You know how Din removed his helmet because he thought he was going to lose the child that he grew to love? Well, that was a sin, and he took it all back in one fell swoop. Wow. Anyway, there's no time to think about that. We have to catch up with Greef Karga. On Navarro, we learned that Grogu returned and that Cara Dune got recruited for an aborted TV show. Oh, and a bunch of pirates want to drink in a school? What? For some reason, Mando also needs IG-11, even though the droid was obliterated at the end of Season 1. He tries to reactivate it himself, but the droid reverts to its original programming and has to be put down. The Babu Frick clones tell him that they need to replace a circuit board, so he leaves and later gets into a dogfight with the pirate that Greef let go. This makes sense, but it feels meaningless because we don't know who these pirates are. Immediately after that, we visit Bo-Katan and learn that everyone abandoned her after her failure to take the Darksaber. That sounds silly on its own, but the show actually tells us that she's in the system. I want to repeat that. She is literally one planet over from Mandalore. If her forces were headquartered there, why did nobody bother to check on Mandalore itself? Also, I thought that they had to retake the system, so why is she sitting alone on a planet in the system? Don't think about it, the episode is over. Call me crazy, but I don't think that there's much story to be had in this show. Then again, it might be set up, so let's move on. Episode 2 begins with Peli scamming a local with the help of some Jawas. To the show's credit, Amy Sedaris is funny, and there is a cute scene where Grogu leaps into her arms. However, this is the point where the show completely forgets about the first episode. Apparently, Din needs a droid that can splunk, or just test the atmosphere. So why did he need IG-11? It seems like there's a missing scene that the director forgot to put in. Anyway, the droid is bought and we fly back to Mandalore, which kinda makes me wonder why he didn't just go to Tatooine first. Once our duo passes through a storm, we learn that the Purge has made communication impossible with the outside galaxy, which kind of makes one wonder why they would want to take this planet back in the first place. Once the ship lands, Mando orders R5 to take air samples out of sight where no one can see it. Of course, the droid drops off the map, so our hero has to go after it, which exposes himself and Grogu to potential fallout. Moments later, Mando walks right into an ambush by the Not Morlocks. He has trouble wielding the Darksaber for some reason, but dispatches the monsters quite quickly. This begs the question of why this thing is so heavy. Okay. Din and Grogu are fine, so they explore Sundari. After a little bit of jetpacking, Mando finds a helmet and gets trapped by a cyborg. His kid tries to save him, but winds up having to retreat to Bo-Katan. In a nice turn, she responds to the call for help without hesitation, but this leads to another writing problem.
Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?
Why would he think that? He met you and 2 others in the last season. Once they find Din, Bo-Katan confronts the cyborg and wields the Darksaber amazingly well. I'm not sure why though. Shouldn't she be in some kind of mental turmoil? I guess we're not supposed to think about that. After a brief interlude with Soup, Bo-Katan takes Din to the living waters while also dismissing the place. When they enter the chamber, she reads off a plaque about how Mandalore the Great tamed a mythosaur, only to be distracted when Mando falls into the water. Our hero sinks to the bottom rather quickly, but why is he knocked out? If he hit his head, how did that happen? The helmet can take a punch from a dark trooper. He can't drown either, so what's going on here? Oh, Bo-Katan finds him on the seafloor and then spots a mythosaur? Hold on. How is that massive thing an article of faith? Anyway, don't think about it, it's the end of the episode. Episode 3 begins with an obvious continuation of what came before. Mando obviously didn't see anything, but he takes some water as proof that he completed his quest. Just as Bo, Din, and Grogu return to the castle, they are suddenly attacked by a flight of Imperials, which forces Mando to bail out to his own fighter. A dogfight ensues, a bunch of TIE bombers bomb the castle, the trio is forced to make an emergency retreat, and they went to Coruscant. Oh, never mind, it's focusing on that doctor guy. Oh no, he's talking about the sequels, isn't he? Cue the ham-fisted social commentary.
Oh, my apologies. Empire, Rebels, New Republic, I can't keep track.
There is a difference between democracy and fascism. I suppose that we're not supposed to think about this stuff. Most of this episode follows the Doctor and an amnesty program along with... Wait, what is she doing here? Yeah, she's going to butter him up to do something stupid, isn't she? Then again, why did the government even bother with the guy if he's not going to follow his specialty? To make matters worse, the New Republic is effectively too stupid to live. As Imperial warlords appear to be going on a rampage, the government is just dismantling its own fleet. They won't even strip a Star Destroyer for science equipment that could be put to good use. Why? I don't know. Oh, by the way, did you know that the government that the rebels fought for is secretly evil? Once the Doctor takes the aforementioned equipment, he is captured and placed in a mind flayer. He didn't get a trial, there was no hearing, so yeah. Oh, it's not the torture machine that everyone fears, says the fish. It's some other machine that just so happens to have the same settings. This dystopian homage has somehow done the impossible. It actually made the sequel trilogy worse. To demonstrate this, let's ask ourselves a couple of questions, shall we? What is the Resistance fighting for? Why would the audience feel bad after the First Order blows everything up? And most troubling of all, what's stopping all of this from happening again after the sequels? Assuming that anyone ever trusts a galactic government again. Congratulations, Lucasfilm. Somehow, you made the story that you were trying to justify worse. But wait, there's more. Everyone inexplicably leaves the Doctor alone with his obviously evil counterpart, and she cranks the machine up to 11 with no alibi whatsoever. Dumb. Unbelievably dumb. Anyway, don't think about it, Din and Bo-Katan are redeemed. Yay! Is it just me, or does anyone else feel like the writing for this show has fallen off of a cliff? Apart from the things that I just mentioned, we're 3 episodes into an 8-episode season, and there's no cohesive story yet. I like Star Wars and I want it to be good, but this is just making me nervous. Then again, all of these issues might be covered in the remainder of the season. We'll be covering all of this and more too on this channel, so stay tuned. If you'd like to hear more about The Mandalorian and all of the other content that's being cooked up, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. I'll also be down in the comments below because it's always fun. If you'd like to support the channel even further, sharing is caring, and you can also find links in the description. Keep on rolling, and I'll see you next time.